That's like the easiest thing to do is just click a little button, but like the thing I forget to do the most. Welcome, Sue. Happy to see you here. So today, I am so happy to introduce Leola Rutherford. She is an educator here in Alaska. She said in the chat she teaches sixth grade in Girdwood, so an awesome skiing location. Leola, do you ski a lot? I feel like being so close to Girdwood, you have to be a skier or a snowboarder, right?
Yeah. I love to ski, but primarily, the knees start going and you start falling in love with cross country. So I've made that transition. I'll go downhill a little bit, but it's really the cross country skiing that I enjoy now, because you can just go out for 30 minutes or you can go out all day and there's no lift lines.
Oh, totally. I'm right there with you. I am more of a cross country skier because I still don't know how to turn or stop very much. But anyways, going on with that, Leola is an amazing educator here. She works on top of her job as a code.org facilitator, providing trainings to educators across the state. At all of our statewide conferences, she's presenting. I know last year I sat in a few of her sessions at ASTI, the Alaska version of ISTE, and they were fantastic. I remember she also won a Promethean board, which was amazing. She just has super positive energy, so I'm really excited to hear what she has to say today. She's going to be presenting a instructional activity with Google Slides, what's going on in this picture. So I am going to stop sharing and let Leola take over.
All right. Well, before I share, can I just get in the participants window? You know how you can do the yes, no, those reactions. Does everybody know how to do that? Let's just do raise hand. Raise your hand if you have done a what's going on in this picture or what's going on in this graph from the New York Times series before, if this is something new for you. So go ahead and just do the raise hand if that is something you've done before. Okay, so Jody, I see, has done it. Jody, if you don't mind sharing, how did you do or come across the New York Times, what's going on in this picture?
I was just trying to find my little things to do, so I didn't really mean to raise my hand because I have not done it. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good to see. I'm going to introduce you to something new. This was something that I tripped onto. There was some online PD. I'm sure you guys have done a lot of it lately. That was offered by Jo Boaler. I'm kind of a math nerd, so, Jo Boaler, of course, I'm going to take something from her. She's a professor at Stanford, as you may know, and she's on a mission to bring data science to the middle school and high school curriculums across the country. And so I took her class, and in that class, she just mentioned this New York Times site. And I'm like, I got to know more about this New York Times site, because she was using some of their graphs. And so for ASTI, one of the talks I'm going to be giving there is about what's going on in this graph, data science, number talks, that type of thing. And so this is kind of a cousin to that presentation that I'm planning to do, and just real short with you guys here. So there's what's going on in this graph and what's going on in this picture. And the New York Times publishes a graph or a picture every day. And it's a free resource that you can use with your classroom. And what it teaches is some of the data science skills, but what we're going to concentrate on here today is just introduce you to the visual thinking strategies. So go ahead and raise your hand in the participants box if visual thinking strategies, if that's ringing a bell, if that's something that you may or may not have done with your students or participated in before. Okay, Jody thinks Jody has, yeah. I'm betting all of you have done visual thinking strategies. You just might not know it by that name. Okay, so let's do some visual thinking strategies. And we're going to use a resource of what's going on in this picture from the New York Times. What I did is they compiled those, because remember, they do one every day. They compiled them into their 40 favorites. And I was so excited to see this triage list. So I wasn't just, getting something today and not knowing how to find it again. And so I put together this slide deck with the first 40, with the 40 that just came out this year. And then I discovered, oh, they did this once before. So this has been going on for 8 years. So every 4 years, they're doing their favorite 40. So this slide deck I'm going to share with you today is got 80 of them ready for you to use in your classroom. So I've taken their resource and I've turned it into a Google slide that's interactive. And we're going to practice one that's a bonus one. It's not one of those 80. It's something different. And it's from this last December. And we'll do this visual thinking strategy and let me know what you think. Is this something you think might be useful in your class or you would like to do with your students? There's the share screen. That's what I was looking for. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Chelsea, can you give me a thumbs up if you can see that? Okay, great. And I'm going to go ahead and try this in present mode. Hopefully this will work. I'm in a little different setup than I typically am. No Promethean board behind me, sorry. So this is an example lesson of the interactive slide, using an interactive slide deck option. So if you are virtual with your students and you like to use Zoom and maybe breakout rooms, or even if you're face-to-face and you could have students sitting and working collaboratively at tables with photocopies of this, or sharing an electronic device to do this same thing. So what is a visual thinking strategy? You ask these series of questions. What is going on in this picture? And then we're taking the metacognitive levels, right? What do you see that makes you say that? What more can you find? And then this is that summary technique that I saw missing in other things that I really like about visual thinking strategy in this New York Times resource, is they ask the students to write a caption for the photo. And I think that really helps them with those synthesizing ideas. So here's our photo for today. I'm going to ask you, and traditionally I would put us into breakout rooms, but I think with the number that we have, Chelsea, can we just give each person a slide?
Yep.
Do you want to work? Do you want to work together, or do you, or could we do a couple partners? What do you think, Chelsea?
It is totally up to you. Maybe the first one together, and then we can go to partners from there.
Okay, well, I just have one for us to do today because I, didn't know about the time. This is what you're going to be asked to do. Let's do partners. And Chelsea, if you could maybe put us into breakout groups with 2 people, you're going to look at that same picture. What's going on with this picture? And this is an interactive. So where you see the dots, there's a text box and you can add text. And then what do you see that makes you say that? Why do you say that? And then what more can you find and write a caption? Now, this is just a little thumbnail that's in here. So you have access to this same slide deck. Chelsea, do you mind putting that link that I gave you with the star in the chat so everybody can open that? And so you can go back to slide 4 and see the bigger picture and then toggle back to your group number. I'm going to stop share for a minute. Does that make sense? All right. So go ahead and give me a, oh, there's my reactions. I was missing my reactions. Give me a thumbs up or some kind of sign if you've got that slide deck open in a separate tab. So Jody and Laura, are you able to access that slide deck?
I can get it, but like I need I'm multitasking something with my daughter, so I have the click. But I'll be back here in 5 minutes. I'm listening.
Okay, no worries. Chelsea, why don't we?
Sorry.
Yeah. Jody, did you get a chance to open those slides?
Sorry.
Is that going to work for you? And if
Yes.
not, we can do this another way.
Yeah, it's opening, I think.
Awesome.
I did click it. No.
Okay, so Chelsea, maybe you can put us into 2 breakout groups. And then what I'm going to ask is a volunteer to share their screen. And if you've done this before, please volunteer to share your screen in that breakout group. And then with your small group here, just unmute yourself and brainstorm answers to those questions. So this is a modified think, pair, share. We're going to give you a chance to just brainstorm together, and then we're going to come back in like 4 minutes. We're not going to give you a lot of time here, and then share what you saw and give you an opportunity, now that you hear what other groups are saying, to see if you can add more. So if we've all got that slide deck up, then when we're in the breakout rooms, one person volunteer to share their slides, everyone can type on the slide at the same time because it's set with permission to edit.
All right, here we go.
So and no judgment on my tabs. I actually did clean up my tabs the other day because my YouTube kept being so slow. And finally a kid waited after my Zoom and said, Smartin, I think it's all your tabs. And I've already had 2 teachers tell me that. I'm like, okay, I'm doing it today. So I cleaned it up. Anyway, so we're group 2. So we'll go to group 2. All right. So it says, all right, look at the photograph and answer the first question. Decide what you see.
I think it's like a Christmas tree convention.
Seriously, and I see those boots down. Is that?
And the large cowbells.
Seriously. Okay, is that you, Chelsea, in that box?
Yes, I can be the scribe.
Okay. No, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure that we were on the right spot. Okay. Because I assume the other people are going to be in the other box. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, like it's almost like Christmas.
I know there's like a Santa con, and I'm like, is this just like Christmas tree con? People dress up like Christmas trees.
I love it.
I love that too.
And then and you know what? I'll go back up to here real fast. I wonder, are they trying to be a Christmas tree, or are they trying to be like they almost look like they're like Hawaiian, like they've got all their stuff on and they're gonna do like a luau or something. I don't know, but it definitely, the cowbell's what's throwing me on the Christmas tree.
I know, because it looks like they're like trying to be camouflage, but then they're going to be really loud with those cowbells.
Yeah. And those people on the left did a much better job hiding their feet than the people on the right.
Like they must be dancing. Like they've got to want to make sound and jingle
Ooh,
them.
dancing. That's a good idea. But it's snow.
Christmas con dance-a-thon.
Yeah, there we go.
That should be our caption. Christmas con tree con dance-a-thon.
Agreed.
Oh, we only have a minute left.
Oh, geez. Okay. So what's going on in the picture? People dressed up in weird clothes. I mean, that's what's going on with cowbells. What makes you say that?
And it's coordinated. It's coordinated because they.
You're right. Coordinated. What makes you say that? Because they match. Yeah. Uh-huh. Then what more can you find? Like, I would research something like Christmas tree, people dressing up as Christmas tree or something.
Ooh, let me Google it.
Because it's weird kinds of trees and bark and, you know what I mean? It's not like a normal look of a tree. I mean, it's tree, but it's not like the one on the left. That's a weird tree, bush thing.
Yeah, it's like mossy almost.
Yeah. They're consistent.
Old man's beard.
They're not all the same kind of tree. That's the weird part to me.
Yeah, and like on the left, they're all like straw instead of like Christmas tree.
Yeah.
Interesting. This is fun. I like this.
Yeah, it makes you ask good questions. I'm going to share, we're doing literacy strategies right now. This would be a good activity.
Mhm.
All right. Oh, 10 seconds. All right, here we go.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again, if that's okay. And we will look at some of our answers, some of the things we discovered by looking at these pictures. So I'm going to go first to breakout group 2. And I'm going to ask someone there to get, oh, that was us. We were on 11. Let me go to the first one. Here we are, breakout group 2. So would one of you care to give a voice to your slides? Tell us what you wrote. What did you see going on in this picture?
Go for it, Sue.
So my immediate impression was it looks like a Christmas tree con. I think because I had recently read an article about like how they didn't have Santa Con this year. And so I was thinking about, you know, those conventions where people kind of dress up in a theme. And then, you know, we were kind of, you know, observing, you know, that, you know, there's a group of people, they were dressed in a kind of coordinated weird clothes. And we saw like loud cowbells. And so, you know, that kind of implied like music. And so we thought maybe movement. And so that's how we came up with our caption of the Christmas Tree Con Dance-a-thon.
I love it. I love it. All right, let's look at another breakout group and see what they saw. Jody or Laura, could you give a voice to our slides?
Oh, sorry. I was the one that's looked at them and saw that they were dressed like bushes or trees and thought they were hunting. And then other people saw musical instruments and thought that they were maybe caroling or some kind of tribal gathering. So we came up with the idea that they were tribal carolers going hunting.
I like it. And so the caption kind of wove the three ideas together. So good. So you'll notice that in this slide, in the notes, and I do this on a lot of my slides that I do with the students, there's other things going on in the notes. So we've got, they can click and get a larger image, there's directions, and on the bottom there, if you scroll through the notes, the teacher note gives you how to do visual thinking strategies. So a little bit more of the idea behind visual thinking strategies, what they are. This is the document that you'd pull up and gives the how do you do this? This is where I got those questions from. The other thing that's linked on the initial picture is a link to the New York Times that can take you actually to their site where this original picture was. And the other thing I have is I've taken that picture and I've made a PDF. So let's say you don't have the internet connection or you want to sign this asynchronous and not just send kids off into the ether, go ahead and give them the PDF version instead to kind of corral the kids. I find Sometimes if I give my kids too many wild links, it's hard to get them back. So I prefer to have a PDF version of what I'm asking them to read if I only want them to read that and not explore further on their own. So here is, again, that visual thinking strategy. You'll find this for every one of the New York Times, what's going on in this picture. Gives you the date that it was published. So this was back at last month in December. It was originally published in January 13th. So this was a repeat picture that they did from the pictures of the day. And the original caption looks like it didn't get copied. But I have here on the slide that little insert there of the reveal. And so you can choose to put that type of thing in your slide deck if you want, or just leave it separate, or maybe copy it on the back of this worksheet if you were handing it out with paper. And so here's the reveal. Here's what this picture was about. And what I typically do at this point with my students is I have them vote if they think that the truth is more interesting, or is the lie more interesting. So, and they kind of like that. They get a vote for the truth, or they get a vote for their lie, you know, so that and this helps with creative writing and thinking of that. So the truth is that this was equipped with branches and pine trees and cowbells, so-called silver claws, New Year's clauses. So we're talking about the Santa-thon, right? You know, that fits right in there. Walk from house to house in Walsta, Switzerland, in order to offer their best wishes for New Year's to the farmers of the region. So that hunting thing fits in there, right? They're in the countryside. They may be going out and doing something in the country. After their singing and dancing performance, hey, we had some people talk about dancing. The Sliver Claws receive food, hot drinks, or money. So it's a Swiss version of caroling, but not at Christmas, instead at New Year's. And I want to know how strong they are to carry those kind of bells and cowbells and things. Does anyone else have any I wonders after hearing this backstory? And Chelsea, there, I think I can click on it. Yeah. So raise your hand if you had any I wonders, or feel free to unmute yourself if you have something to add on, having experienced this visual thinking strategy mini lesson.
So I mentioned in the comments, but that they would have to walk a long way. So, but I really wonder how far they have to walk if they're doing it if they're saying this to the farmers. Between farmhouses could be a long way.
Yeah, and I like it. It's a good literacy. I can't remember how you said it, but right now our school is working on literacy strategies, and we're specifically doing PD the last couple days, or the last couple weeks, on, the lady calls it thick and thin questions. Thin questions meaning, you know, you can answer them really fast, and thick questions meaning you have to research and go deep, and or you have to think, you know, there is no right answer, and it's just a question that you wonder. Anyway, so I think this is absolutely going into that strategy, because there's so many ways you can go of not knowing. There's so much you don't know, you know, and it's not an easily Googleable thing, but it's a fun picture. You know what I mean? It's not like I don't know. There's so many boring pictures that, you know, sometimes a painting, you're like, that's a stretch, but this has so much intrigue. That's my point. I like the uniqueness of the picture.
Yeah, Tana, to build off that, when you said it's not Googleable, I think this would be great, the earth science teacher in me, for like science phenomena where there's no pressure to like get the right answer, but it's really, what do you wonder about this? And then connecting that to the, okay, this is what it actually is. Because a lot of times students can get it on their own when they're just thinking about it and can see pictures and kind of form their opinions off of that.
And the other thing I've found that this really helps students with is that growth mindset. You're giving them lots of practice in struggle and coming up with their own conclusions, and not just passively waiting for me to tell you what's going on in this picture, you know, asking the students to try and come up with their own hypothesis, you know, well, and what makes you say that? And what caption would you put on there? And what would you, what more do you see? I think that it definitely helps with that. So if you like this kind of a strategy, then on slide 13 of this slide deck that was shared with you, there's a link to the master slides. Rest of the things on this slide deck are kind of a Reader's Digest version of what you'll find on those master slides. So if you don't want all the New York Times, you just want to do your own thing, just take this one. I have templates for different kinds of visual thinking strategies. This one that we did, this standard boilerplate New York Times visual thinking strategy. Some of you may have done a See, Think, Wonder with your students before. This also works with the photographs and the graphs, or a 3-2-1 analogy, or a 3-2-1 bridge. Ones I've added is this claim warrant reasoning chain. I'm a debate coach, and so this is one of the things that I really really try and get my students to be able to just do these. The claim warrant reasoning, and then Pear Deck. If you use Pear Deck, I put some Pear Deck versions in there. So there's an instruction there in the breakout room, and then there's a template there where you can put in your own picture to do this same thing we just did, and each one comes with instructions. There's the See, Think, Wonder, and if you choose to use that template, here's an interactive template option where you could put in the photo here, basically doing the same thing we just did, but phrasing it slightly differently. I find if you do a lot of these, it helps to do the same kind, say, for a week, or maybe if you do it once a week, do it that month, and then mix it up. For my students now, it's something new, but really you're asking the same thing. You're just asking in a slightly different way. This claim warrant reasoning is, the claim is there are. I know this because, that's the warrant. This means that, give the reasoning, and then try and connect it to the next thing. So it's one of those building strategies to have them really listen actively to each other so that they can build onto it. So we could have done the same thing with the picture that we just saw. There are people dressed up. I know this because this is not normal dress. This means that this must be a special occasion. Oh, I see bells, and so that's where then you lock on to the next thing. What makes this a special occasion? What do you see that tells you this is a special occasion? And keep going. The 3-2-1 analogy, some of you may have seen before from like the Harvard project. There's a whole bunch of these, but I just picked a few that I thought worked really well with these pictures. Idea 3-2-1. My students really like this one. If they're reluctant writers, or you feel like that would be too much writing for them to start with, I would recommend starting here. 3 words to describe 2 questions you have, 1 analogy, and then write the caption. I have gotten more writing when I ask for less. So, if I say, give me a 5-paragraph essay, they just struggle and they freeze. But if I say, give me 3 words, I'm getting like 10 words from them. They're not stopping at 3 words. I get a lot. That's what I mean by I get a lot more sometimes when I ask for less. And this 3-2-1 analogy is great. I usually hook them with a 3-2-1 analogy. Looks very similar, put in your own picture. And then I give them the 3-2-1 bridge. And this adds that layer of depth and complexity. So they discuss their 3-2-1. They're used to doing that. And then they stop, pause, do that think, pair, share like we did. And then I throw them back in a breakout room for a second time to come up with 3 new words, 2 new questions, and 1 new analogy. And it could be something that they heard from another group. They don't have to come up with something unique, but something that now tells them more, because this is what I'm really after, is the bridge. Why and how did your thoughts shifted? So, maybe they're just repeating the same thing because my words are right and I didn't agree with what anybody else said, or somebody else may say, wow, I really didn't see that the first time, and now I do. And so doing that metacognitive analysis of how, and putting it in writing, how did your thoughts change? I like to do these as a group activity rather than individuals, but if I'm asking individuals, I'm going to do a Pear Deck. And the reason why I like Pear Deck is because it's anonymous. I get to see from the teacher's dashboard who's writing what, but the students don't. And so it really encourages everyone to take that risk and put something out there on the board. I get to see what everyone is writing without names attached. And sometimes I find I mix it up. I find that this works better than a breakout room, and where if one student seems to always be writing, I'll throw in Pear Deck instead and do the same thing. So it's basically the same. You put the photo there, what's going on in this picture, what more can you find, and then write a caption for it. Now I just kind of combine those two. What do you see that makes you say that? This is a text slide, so they're writing. This one is a drawing slide, so it allows them to circle things rather than write. It gives them a break from the writing. And from like for like the ELL students, they might be able to circle or highlight
Hold
something
on.
whereas they may not be able to write a sentence. They could certainly circle or highlight using the draw tool from Pear Deck. And then they'll write again for caption. This is an alternative. What do you see? Going to one of those other visual thinking, what do you think and what do you wonder? And then write the caption for the picture. So I put those in this slide deck. What's in the full deck, which is on the link, you can find the link to the full deck here, the gal with the picture, where it says link. And that's going to give you, if you're interested, access to this whole slide deck where I've taken 80 pictures, right? And I've triaged those from the New York Times, and like the one that I just gave you here, there's a PDF link and there's the web link if you want to go there. There's also these templates that are editable. So the ones that were in there, you can't edit, but in this one at the bottom, there's an editable version. So you can just, build on it, make it work for you. And what I've done here, like on slide 24, here's the 40 photos. So let's say I want to pick a photo for my class. If you hover over this hyperlink word and pop it up, the photo is going to come up in a little thumbnail. So you can just preview real quickly. Oh, that looks like an interesting photo. And then this is hyperlinked to the slideshow. So it'll take you right to that picture. Once you've done that one, because this is my bad, we've done that one already, Mrs. Rutherford. So this is how I remember which ones they've done. I made a little clickable in here so you can just move and click and draw, and there it is. If you like the first 40 pictures, those 40 pictures, those are the most current I put in the front. Then I've done the same thing for the next 40 pictures. So you'll see each one of those pictures is kind of like that, the carolers one that I showed you there. There's a big one, and then you can import, add it to whatever breakout or analysis group you want. And then this is the next 40 pictures. I put the dates in here because to me as a social studies teacher, that's interesting. You can see trends over time, or you can compare or have the kids guess, when do you think this occurred? They might have, maybe it's something old, maybe it's something new. So I wanted to record the dates in here too, to see. It's really rich for comparisons. And then if you want to add your own, I put in a blank template here for you to add your own. And that's where I added the one that we did today as an add your own in there. And then it's got that same interactive. So if that is helpful to follow this kind of pattern, you can do that in this or another slideshow. It's up to you. So when you click on that link, it's going to force you to make a copy. So this is yours, and you can rework it and use it however you want. All I ask is that you don't sell it. So this is, this is the Creative Commons, build on it, make it your own, please modify it, just don't sell it, because you got it for free, so pass it on for free is my philosophy with that. At the very end here, I also have some resources if you want to know more about visual thinking prompts. This is the New York Times. It's just 2 minutes long. I always put the time and the link for the videos in there for you, so if you want to spend the time. That's just an introduction to this whole New York Times program. This is a PD webinar that is 45 minutes long. This is just a prompt about the whole picture series in specific, and a webinar that goes with it. And this one I really like. I found this teacher who had assigned this asynchronously to her students, and this was her instruction. Was her instruction slide. So if that isn't need of yours to assign this asynchronously, and you don't want to record your own video, this is a great one in here that's just 2 minutes long, that explains to the students what they're expected to do. So I'm going to go ahead and stop share there and see if there's any questions.
So Leola, first, everyone in the chat is just giving you so much kudos because this resource is amazing and it's so neat and organized. So thank you for that. There was one question in the chat from Tammy. It's back to the Pear Deck when you had the post where students respond and it's anonymous to other students, but you can see. The questions was, do the students get to see what everyone is writing just without the author?
Yes. And you control when to display. So, I mean, you can give that think wait time. So what I typically do is I have to count to myself because, you know, I just want to push show, but, you know, I give them a few minutes to think silently so they all have a chance to write in, and then I click the display and it gives a list of what everybody's writing without any names. And I typically read through that list, and then students who weren't writing before start writing. And they know that I take a participation grade from it because Pear Deck will publish takeaways for you, so you can remember if you need to go back later and say, oh, how I use it is I'm noticing if one or two students aren't participating, and then I'm having a private conversation with them to say, how, you know, what can we do to help you encourage participate? We'd really like to, you know, hear your voice in this. So I do more of the soft approach, coaching from behind rather than embarrassing in front. And I know we're all in all these transitions. We just got used to being virtual, and I wrote this, you know, thinking we were going to be virtual for a long time, and I think it'll be interesting to see how many resources like this continue to be useful when we go back face to face. And I'm hoping with the versatility that I put in there, you can see this is a strategy that was used before we were virtual, and now here's just an iteration of another way you could do it virtually or not. You could do it as a whole group display. It depends on whether you've got access to one-on-one or you're using computers with small groups, if you're back face to face.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of things that people have designed that I hope they keep even after this, because I think it would be a shame to go back to the way it was. You know what I mean? I think so many people have been so creative and come up with so many things that you clearly put a lot of work into it, and you know what I mean? You keep using it, and people can find a way to go with it. I think it's what you're saying. I'm agreeing with you. I think it'll be interesting to see what people keep doing that they created during this time.
Yeah, I'm so happy that we have gone paperless. You know, that's been a goal of mine for a long time, and I really struggled with ways to get rid of those worksheets, you know, and make them interactive and not just kill a bunch of trees or stand in long lines at the copy machine, you know, type of thing. And so that's what I'm hopeful for. I'm hopeful that that this revolution that we've gone through here in teaching is going to enable us to truly be paperless and to find ways to really think critically about those worksheets that we're giving students as to what is it that I really want them to do? Is it really important that each individual do this worksheet? Would it be more valuable to use the same ideas from this worksheet and come up with, and that's what I've tried to do here, a way to do it collaboratively with a group rather than separately as individuals? So. And how many of these things do we really need to grade? Isn't the discussion really the better part of it?
Yeah, great job. I was going to say, I'm in the See Alaska program, and we've had to do a lot of these visual thinking exercises, but I just got to do something with my students last week when we had no internet. anyways, the point is, I was blown away with the students' observations with one painting and how much they observed that I didn't see. So like as a teacher, you're thinking like you got this all covered. And I'm like, well, how much else do they see? How many other things do they see when we're teaching that we don't even think of, but that we never give them the chance to talk about? So I really like that whole process of slowing down and talking about what they see and why they think that and so on. So great. I'll be using this.
That's my hope.
And sorry for not being muted.
Well, Chelsea, I know you probably have some other business to do, so I wanted to honor the time there.
No, thank you. That was perfect. Before we kind of close out the meeting, are there any other questions for Leola or comments in general that you'd want to share with everyone?
What's the name of your session at ASTI? And when is it?
Yeah, and the ASTI, I'm doing computational thinking and I'm doing data science. And the data science one is where I take the New York Times, what's going on with this graph, and do this basically the same kind of thing that I showed you here with pictures, but we're doing it with graphs. And then talking about Steve Wyborn's estimistries and how you can make your own.
Are the graphs like what kind of content? Science graph, social studies graph? Is there a subject or are they just all kinds?
They're all kinds, just like these photos are all kinds.
Okay. Yeah, we have a science teacher that I'm gonna, I think our science teachers would especially like it because, like I said, we're doing literacy, and that's one of the ways that they're looking at literacy is graphs in science. And yeah.
And the focus of my computational thinking workshop is about how you should be doing computational thinking in all subjects, not just science, not just math, but how you can, and it's a questioning strategy, basically, how this is appropriate in language arts, in social studies. And I just see a real strength here when you take a good idea from one discipline and you look creatively at how could I apply that to this other discipline. And I think the more threads there that we can build for students, now we have a transferable skill that goes beyond just this worksheet, this isolated lesson. Now they have a life skill of a way to look deeper, to synthesize their thoughts, to ask questions.
Yeah, that's amazing. Everybody in the chat is saying that if they're going to ASTI, they're not missing your session. And if you sat in on this session today, you have all the reason why that's going to happen, because that was great, Leola. And thank you so much for all of the resources that you shared with us. I'm going to post those again one more time in the chat if you guys weren't able to get those. We're just going to close out with just a way to connect with us. So if this is your first time, thank you so much for coming to our monthly meeting. Our meetings are small, but the quality of the meetings are amazing. So I want to encourage you guys to connect with us and keep coming. I'll share this slide deck as well, so you can click on all of these links, but we do have a website, a Google group, a Facebook group. You can email us, follow us on Twitter, lots of different ways to connect. And then we host a meeting monthly, and it's usually the last Tuesday of the month from 7 to 8 o'clock Alaska Standard Time. And then if you are attending ASTI, we will be presenting at ASTI as well. So we hope that we will see you guys again in the future. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, everyone, enjoy your night, especially Joy from New York. Get some sleep. Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you again, Leola, for your awesome presentation.